deadline. Now, there's only one L in Brooklyn, but the Nets have racked up 11 of them in a row, with the last two losses coming on the heels of dealing James Harden to the 76ers in a package that got them Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond. The Nets' recent skid and the trade has left the mic open for plenty of conversation.
From our Adrian Wojnarowski, the Brooklyn Nets are trading James Harden to Philadelphia for the 76ers. Ben Simmons.
I'm not surprised. I have not talked to James about unhappiness other than just typical day-to-day, how can we make this thing better?
Now that's official, I think we can wish him well. And for me, I just want everybody to be happy. You know, you never really know what people they're going to decide to do. I can't really say that you feel that in the locker room, so to say, but, you know, we get hints.
This was something that James and myself talked about over the last few days. And these decisions to move on from a player like that, of that caliber, are never easy ones. James has been up front from day one, was, you know, the clock is ticking for him. He wants to win a championship, and we do too.
James Harden, and one of the best players in the league, you know, MVP. It's pretty exciting.
And with that, James Harden joined the Sixers earlier this morning. Harden attended practice and was apparently very excited. This photo was taken and posted by the Sixers Twitter page. Take a look here. It looks like the Sixers are good with their side of the deal here. Now, on Monday, the Sixers said that Harden would be out through the All-Star break as he continues to rehab his hamstring, meaning he won't participate in the All-Star game despite being picked last amongst that particular group on TNT the other night. But Ramona, the Sixers appear to have been Harden's first pick in this particular case, having asked for a trade to Philly, which he was ultimately granted. So how did his wishes affect Brooklyn's strategy at the deadline?
I think what was complicated is that you saw how he was playing, you heard what he was saying behind the scenes. But when James would talk to Sean Marks or Steve Nash, Joe Tsai, the owner of the team, he would say, like, don't believe all these rumors unless you hear it directly from me. And I think what was hard for the Nets, which was, okay, what we see on the court and what we hear off the court are not matching what you're saying. And eventually, very late in the process, as the deadline was approaching, James Harden did end up FaceTiming with Sean Marks and with Joseph Tsai, the owner, and saying, I would prefer to be in Philadelphia. And so he was a man of his word. He said, when there's a problem, you'll hear it directly from me. FaceTime to FaceTime. And I know some people are like, oh, you couldn't meet with him.
FaceTime is better than text. I'll say that. Better to break up over FaceTime than text.
Logistical issues, okay? Yeah. They were, you know. And then afterwards, you know, this is the part that I think is interesting. They made a decision that, okay, you're not going to play until after this trade deadline because we have to get what we want for you. Mm-hmm. But that was really late in the process that he finally said that to them. And it gave them a very limited, they had a posture of, you know what, everybody just hang tight. And when we get Kevin Durant back, it's going to go better. James will turn around. But when he finally said, I want to be in Philly long term, and I want to be there if you can make that happen, great. That's when I think everybody realized, okay, there's momentum for a deal now. And also, he left. He went to Houston. He didn't go with the team and stay with the team. He was in Houston for that trade deadline.
The hardest part for me when you look at, the James Harden situation is that you understand. Kyrie said it. You just want players to be happy. That's really all you truly want. But there's also a little bit, you would think, responsibility. And if he's going to be the type of player that's going to lead to a championship, you have to kind of set the bar. When you're not happy, there's a lack of professionalism that just flows through. And so you can be excited that you have James Harden, but the real thing that you want to focus on if you're Philly and you're Philly fans is a happy James Harden, because an unhappy or this isn't great James Harden, he just hasn't been giving the effort even consistently. Let's look at other players even when they struggle. Yeah. LeBron James's team is not very good, and he's one of the best players in the league just like James Harden, but you don't question his effort. You don't question his effort every single time he goes on the floor, and that's the same for guys like Giannis if their team is struggling, Kevin Durant if their team is struggling. You never question their effort regardless of that. But, James Harden, I think this is going to be a great fit, and I look forward to seeing them get on the court.
And we don't question your effort. Clearly you went hard yesterday during the Super Bowl.
I know it was hard for 2 days. Like anybody can go hard during the Super Bowl. That's amateur hour. If you can't mix in an entire weekend of just let's get down, let's have a great time.
All right, okay? Let's find out what Perk had to say. Perk, what do you think about how this all went down? Perk, what do you think?
I actually applaud James. I actually applaud James Harden. He jumped off the ship before it sunk. You know, and the reason is right now because Kyrie Irving is allowed to be the captain, and he's sinking the whole ship over there in Brooklyn. And James Harden saw the writing on the wall. And so what happened was he's like, look, I didn't sign up for this. I did not sign up for this. Let me get out of here as fast as I can because there's no accountability. And this is the culture that the Brooklyn Nets are building right now, something that they're going to have to correct. But I actually love James Harden. Look, he spoke up when time was needed. At the end of the day, he was there to do his job. He didn't want to cause any more distractions than they already have. So the time came where he said, you know what, I want out. The trade deadline is near. I want to get to Philly. Let me have this FaceTime conversation with him.
Perk, did he visit you while he was in Houston or what?
Nah, he didn't. I mean, James do his thing, and whatever the case may be, I'm all good with that. But I actually love what he did, to be honest.
Okay.
Get up out of there.
Well, after the trade, Harden's former teammate Kevin Durant was non-committal about the move. Ramona, what role did he play?
Well, George, there was a moment there. It was about a month ago, January 13th, and it's, when you're putting together these stories, you kind of look, wait, January 13th, that's an interesting day. That was actually 1 year to the day of the first trade that brought James to Brooklyn, but January 13th, Kevin Durant, his agent Rich Kleiman, his manager Rich Kleiman, and Rich Paul, the agent for Ben Simmons, all met up in New York. They met up on separate business, but of course, when you are in the same room and there's an opportunity for Rich Paul to say, hey, Kevin, you should think about this, that's where he planted those seeds of trading for Ben Simmons and saying this would be good for you guys. And at the time, Kevin was not quite there yet. He wanted to see how this would work. Now, 2 days later, Kevin hurts his knee. And that's where this spiral goes. That's what causes this to speed up. But at that point, the Brooklyn Nets are not doing this without Kevin Durant's sign-off. Everything they do is run through Kevin Durant. He's okay with everything. And so I think this has been going on for a month now since they had that meeting and that discussion was had. And I think Kevin was trying to get involved here where it wasn't necessarily right then. It took a couple weeks for him to get to that place. But they would not have made this move if he was not on board.
So, Richard, will it work?
I think it has a chance to work, but look, understand this. The three best players from the Brooklyn Nets are, one is injured right currently. Now, and I think he'll come back, Kevin Durant, but he's currently injured. Another one hasn't currently played all season long, and even when he has played, part of the reason why they're in this position is because of some certain deficiencies that he has that prevents him from performing at a high level late in games and in certain situations. And then their other best player, Kyrie Irving, can only play in half the games. So, I'm sorry. I am a Brooklyn Nets guy. That's the team that drafted. I work with the Brooklyn Nets. This one is they just need to get everything back. We can't judge them off what we're looking at because there's no sample size.
Perk, let me ask you this. Your thoughts on the Nets, but how much faith do you have in the Sixers now that they've got Harden?
Oh, I have all the faith in the world. And especially the way that Joel Embiid is playing. Did you see what he did the other night? That 40-piece wing dinner Cajun rub, a triple-double. I kept saying, Joel Embiid right now, he's eye candy to the rest of the league. And, if you're a superstar like a guy like James Harden and you look over there and you see this guy balling out of control, you see culture, you see stability, you see guys getting along, you see camaraderie. And part of this you could blame on Ben Simmons because what happened was when Ben Simmons said, I'm not showing up to camp and I'm not going to play for Philly again, this team came together and they became closer. And James Harden wants to become part of this family along with Daryl Morey. So I think, one, we have to look at this duo as one of the best duos, if not the best duo in the NBA. Two, I feel like James Harden and Daryl Morey relationship is so close that James Harden is going to give everything and more not to